What's up, guys? This is Andrew Smersek with Combat Art Training. Today I'm with John Willis of Special Operations Equipment. Now, thank you so much for your time again. John, when I watch his videos, it's something that motivates me. Seeing the work that he puts in every day, getting up early, like you sleep about 4 hours a night on average, and then you'll take a day to recuperate.
Every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks. It's when it happens, right? If a man is like, hey, what are we doing this weekend? What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know, but you better make a fucking decision, or we're not going to do anything. Okay, nothing, and that's what we'll do, right? So on those days, sometimes I will, like on the weekends, if I know I don't have to do anything, I'll run till 1:30, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then I'll sleep in till whenever I wake up, right? And I typically still wake up at 4:30, and I'll look and I'll go, I probably need to catch up on sleep. And then I'll fight, right? So I'll toss and turn, and I'll wake up at 6, and I'm like, maybe I should get up. And then I'll wake up at 8, and then I'll wake up at 10, and then I'll wake up at 2. So, I mean, I'll spend every 3 weeks or so, I will sleep the good portion of a day. But typically, I'm gonna go to bed I'm gonna be in bed at 11. And I want to turn the lights off at 12. That usually doesn't happen. It's usually 12:30, and it's usually that I wake up at 4:30. And I start looking at the clock at 4, 4:15, 4:30 sometimes. If I don't get up when I first look at the clock, I won't get up. Like I'll go till one of the alarms goes off or something. But like when I get up, probably 80-90% of the time it's at 4:30 or right before. I've started getting up. Like my kind of new rule is if I wake up at 3:45 and look at the clock, I'm gonna get up, because if I don't, I'll blow right past 4:30, and I don't get up with an alarm clock. Like the first alarm that ever goes off is at 5:30.
And you just don't feel good not getting work done, right?
Yeah, that's true. But if I wake up at 4:30 and I don't get up, and then I end up getting up at 6, I have a lot more energy when I wake up at 4:30.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot more energy.
So if you sleep in, it's like you just don't feel that.
Yeah, they say you have sleep cycles. You should look into sleep cycles and RF frequencies and radio waves and shit. Like there's a lot to all of that. But when you start looking at sleep cycles, there will be a lot of things. Like there's some studies that have shown light. You need to sleep in a completely black room, not even with a clock. Like the red lights, that affects shit, right? They said that was probably my camera.
Okay.
They said that they can take a patient or a person sleeping and shine a white light on his foot, and it will register in his brainwaves.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I do know people talk about that. But I don't know. I don't want to say the word because I'll probably fuck it up. But yeah, so waking up with the light is a part of that.
Well, that's how our ancestors used to do it, right? Pre-power, in an agrarian society, like everything was agriculture and you were farmers. You went to sleep because it was dark, and you got up and worked when there was sunlight, because that's what there was, right? We didn't have supplemental light. It's only very recent in history that we've been able to change and do things on our own terms. There's really nothing in the world right now when you walk out the door that's going to pounce on you and eat you, where in the old days there was.
Yeah, and like that's probably fucking with like our natural, like our hormone levels.
Oh, of course it is, and by design, right? They have co-opted all these words. Like you used to hear the word organic, and that meant that it was good and wholesome, and there wasn't chemicals and shit. But they've changed the meaning of everything. They take everything that originally means something, and then when people buy into it, they skew the word to mean something else legally. So, like, organic food doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah.
And all the food that you think you're buying, it's all sprayed with pesticides. Like if you go into the grocery store, and nowadays a grocery store is not even a grocery store anymore, right? It's like a super mega store. So you go into the super Walmart, and 90% of the food in there, it's not from raw ingredients. It has a bunch of shit that you can't pronounce. And the big sugar-free thing. They've come up with ways to change sugar. It's still full of fucking sugar. It just doesn't say sugar. It's got corn syrup, and there's all these diet things that you perceive are less bad for you, or less, they're not going to feed and make you fat, but they're all sugar. They still are sugar.
We're starting to like naturally go into another part that I was wanting to talk about was like kind of like what's happening with the future of the world, the way they are trying to program us. But adding to that point, it was like even yesterday, the day before, one of the girls came up was showing you chicken feed, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, that's all full of soy, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So you hear a lot of people say like, oh, I'm allergic to. You've all of a sudden you never heard it before. All these people that are allergic to chicken. Are they really allergic to chicken, or have they just come out with some test that will show that something is making you allergic to chicken? Is it by man-made design? Is it because it's the cheapest food out there, right? There's this huge attack on protein. There's this huge attack on the way we've been doing things and the things we know to be true, and they're reprogramming you, right? Like the Impossible Burger. It's this meatless burger, and it's every bit as good as a real hamburger, and 99 out of 100 people can't tell the difference. Well, if that's true, what makes you believe that they've really been feeding you meat? Why wouldn't they just give you this other stuff, right? We know estrogen is up hugely in men. They're growing boobs. We know that little girls at like age 9 are having periods already. The estrogen is just insane, and that comes from the soy. So you hear a lot of people say, I can't eat eggs, I'm allergic to eggs. They're not allergic to eggs, they're allergic to soy that was fed to the chickens that laid the eggs. So when you go to a non-soy poultry feed, most of those problems go away. It's just not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's what she was showing me, chicken feed at Walmart, and she was surprised chicken feed was there, and the cost on it was so low. Walmart is insidious for that. Like, you have this perception that when you go to Walmart and buy like a Mountain House meal, it's not the same Mountain House meal that you get from Mountain House. Walmart is typically they're going to negotiate a price for 3 years worth of product that they're not going to take, but they're going to knock you down on the price. So the company typically has to alter the ingredients and the contents and weight of the package to hit the Walmart price. That's why you're seeing a lot of shortages right now. You keep hearing shortage in meat, shortage of chicken, shortage of this, shortage of that. You notice you're not seeing that anymore for the last few weeks. You're hearing shortages, and all these aisles are empty, right? You're not hearing shortage of meat. People are desensitized to it. It's like in the late 90s, early 2000s in California and other major states, people were dropping cinder blocks off of freeway overpasses and killing people every single day. It didn't stop happening. It's so common now, people didn't pay attention to it anymore, so they just stopped putting it on the news.
Yeah, it's not a big scary source.
Yeah, it's become such a commonplace that people kill people with cinder blocks. So, and that's the same thing, man. What was I saying? Why did I start on that?
Well, desensitization. It's like they were throwing them because.
Yeah, but why did I say that part? Anyways, so that's just it, man.
Yeah.
The world is messed up. I think we can all, no matter Republican, Democrat, employee versus employer, business owner, I think everybody can agree that was the meat thing. I think we can all agree that the systems are messed up and our way of life is about to become more difficult. Like, things that happen today, you don't see those right now, right? We just banned oil from Russia. Okay. And the prices are up. That's from some shit. The prices up today are from shit that happened months ago. And the Russia oil that we just banned, that's going to raise, you're not going to see the effects of that for 30 to 60 days. It takes 30 days or so for that oil to get here. So, and I was talking about the meat, right? You don't hear them talking about the shortages of chicken and meat right now because it's so commonplace. They have already, in a 6-month period, conditioned people to, okay, I can't afford steak anymore. I'm not a steak eater. Like, that's the majority of the United States. If you hard pressed, right? You have some accident happen and you need $1,000 to fix your vehicle because you're stranded somewhere. Mm-hmm. They say 95% of the population of the United States does not have $1,000 in their bank account. Yeah. They literally live week to week. And I think a lot of that's by design. We put something in front, we build fear, and that's what social, I keep looking over here to the phone. That's social media, right? Social media is really good at fear. Because that's what buys, that's what sells, that's what you're buying. You're buying fear or you're buying titties, right? If we put girls in front of you, dudes stop and look at girls. If you put girls in front of girls, girls stop and I want to be more like that, or fuck that bitch. She thinks she's so cool, right? Mm-hmm. It always stops eyeballs. And the algorithms on social media, you don't have to tap on it, you don't have to click it, you don't have to like it. It knows where you dwelled. It knows that you stopped, and your phone knows where your eyeballs are. That literally, your camera watches you. They know on the algorithm what you look at just by dwelling on it.
Yeah, and there's one thing is people be like, oh, you know, it's not listening to what you say. Like I know.
Oh, it most definitely is listening.
Yeah, I swear to God, I'm starting to believe that it knows what the fuck I'm thinking. And
I agree with you. I agree with you because I've had this conversation as well. Dozens of times in the last 6 months. I go, I know this is going to sound crazy. I go, I had a dream about something last night, and when I woke up and opened the phone, it was the first thing on the phone. I've literally been in the shower, like we were talking earlier. I go, when I have a frustration or a problem, like I'm building some new thing, or I have some deadline I have to make, or this bag's just not going together. I know I was looking at it, I knew I wanted to put these mag pouches on it, the seam's just not working. I'm not sure what's up. I walk away for 30 minutes and literally just go and sit in the shower. And I'll sit there as hot as I can get it, as steamy as I can. I'll sit in the shower. I always end a shower now. I never end a shower with comfort. I always immediately, no matter what my shower temperature's at, I fucking put it all the way cold, and I try to stand in the fucking freezing cold water and turn around for 3 minutes. I'm after 180 seconds. I never end a shower with comfort, and I try to take more and more cold showers. Like I'm going to buy a cold plunge thing.
Like an ice bath.
Yeah, but a real one. I'm going to buy one from the actual company. I've got a sauna that'll hold. I can put fucking 10 people in my sauna. It's fucking big.
Yeah.
So I've got the sauna. I'm going to do the ice bath, but I walk away from it, right? So I will have these thoughts. The reason I started saying that is I'll be in the shower for 10, 15 minutes, right? Normal shower. And I will have this idea in my head, this conversation in my head. And when I get out and I get dressed and I'm looking at the phone, whenever I end up looking at the phone, whatever I was talking, and I never communicated it, I never verbally said it, but somehow it has popped into the phone. It's not because my brain power is so strong. I believe, and because they've been saying it for so long, right? Every Starbucks coffee bean has nanoparticles on it. They use nano dust, which they have an individual, like they have for the batch, they have a serial number, right? They've come out publicly and said that. So if we have these nanoparticles and we can apply beams of electricity or things to them and do operations inside people as well as kill people and cause embolisms, like they've been saying that as early as 2004 window, right? There's a bunch of video that has come out in the last year of all these clinical studies where they can apply electricity to nanobots and make them do things, and that's what they're talking about. When you first heard the word nanobot, it's so wonderful. We're going to be able to go in and clear plaque out of arteries. We're going to be able to do these things. Do you think they could maybe cause an embolism in the same manner? Because there are a lot of people just died of embolisms, and they say that there are nanoparticles and different types of nano stuff in a lot of these injections, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe, is it that far? Like, I believe that anything that you saw in a science fiction movie, if some dude was able to think about it, somebody's working on it, and it's probably already existed, right? There's a channel, and you probably can't find her. She's on Instagram, called Really Graceful. She's also on YouTube. You should look her up, Really Graceful, and just listen to some of the things she says, and you'll be like, there is no fucking way that can be true. And I get chills, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And when you start fucking looking that up, you find that it's very true, and there's been a ton of fucking funding on these projects. Insane stuff.
Can I pause it? And then,
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna cut the video, and we'll pick right back up.
Like, he just cut this to build another file. While the camera was off, we were talking about we have a friend who's doing really well in life, and he has everything that he said he was going to do, right? A lot of people are like, that guy's never going to do that thing, and he's doing it. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very happy for him. And I said, the crazy thing is, the people that are around that would say, hey, I'm friends with this dude, they're not happy for him. They're like sour for him. And you were saying, my dad sometimes would say this stuff about this dude, they're like, it must be nice to be the king. And I go, it is. And that's what I tell them. When people tell me, it must be nice, it is really fucking nice. I can tell you how to do it, and I don't know why you didn't do it. And that's the deal, man. People do not, and I don't know why it is. I really believe it's not that they're jealous of you, it's that you're making them look bad. Like your girlfriends, your wife and his wife, your wife, my, like they talk, right?
Yeah.
And when one of the dudes in the group excels like hugely in a short period of time, they're like, what the fuck, why, what, Tony? What are you sitting here doing video games on the weekends for? What are you doing? You sit here for 6 hours every night. Like, you know, everything's a mess. But it's literally poverty mindset.
Yeah.
You take a 7-year-old kid and he's sitting on a bench at a tire store, right? And he's with dad and uncle. Dad, you know, uncle followed him over there in case they had to leave the truck or whatever. Guy pulls up in a nice car, let's say a Ferrari. I always use Ferrari because everybody knows what a Ferrari is. Ferrari is not the high, well, they have some, but typically, I say Ferrari because everybody knows it. And the kid's like, oh wow, look at that. And the fucking uncle or the dad goes, yeah, it must be nice. You literally changed the course. You poisoned that kid right there at age 7, and you changed the course for him to associate nice things with being a shitty attitude or that he doesn't want it. Like if you think negative shit, the universe thinks that's what you want and it fucking piles more negative shit on you. And that's what always happens. Whereas if uncle had been like, Billy, if you work really hard and you focus on this and that is your goal, you can attain any goal. So, I don't know why that keeps doing that. So, they just you poisoned them. Like that's literally, you poisoned those people.
Yeah, like it's having focus, and like you said, putting it out into the universe. You'll see that, and I keep blanking on what book it is, but it was one of those books that like all the billionaires say to read. I think Napoleon Bonaparte.
You can literally speak it into existence.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things that a lot of those guys will say that in the books is like you make a list of like things you appreciate. Of
vision
goals
board.
You have.
It's
Yeah,
a vision board. Yeah.
And saying it out loud, like by this date I will have done this, or I will have bought this thing, or whatever.
Yeah. If you keep saying you want a Ferrari, but you've never sat in one, you're not gonna own a Ferrari.
Yeah.
You go sit in the Ferrari, you smell the Ferrari, you know what it is, you be very detailed about what you want, it will show up. When you get around your buddy that's got a Ford Mustang and you're like, hey, I think I want to buy a Ferrari. The Ford Mustang guy will go, you don't want a Ferrari, man. They're super finicky. The payment's $5,000 a month. You know, you got to put it in the garage all the time. You can't have it out like you do your Mustang, right? The Mustang guy is going to like down talk you getting a Ferrari. When you meet a dude with 3 Ferraris, you're like, I think I want to buy a Ferrari. He's not going to go, hey, you shouldn't buy a Ferrari. He's not going to tell you, I don't think you're not ever going to own a Ferrari. He's going to tell you how you buy a Ferrari. I got a guy, and he's going to take you to his guy, the dude that can facilitate you buying a Ferrari, and he's going to tell you what you need to do and what that payment looks like and what kind of down payment, what the insurance. Hey, we're having Cars and Coffee. It's the 3rd Saturday over in Franklin at the mall where the big movie theater is. Come on out. You can come out and fucking hang out with my Ferrari club. And when you get around people performing, you tend to perform more. It's just high performance. It's energy. It literally is. And when you get around mediocre people and you get around negative people, it eats you. It pulls you down. And I call it wireless charging. I've never heard anybody say that, but it's like wireless charging. I can be a 100% dude right now, and I can get next to a 50% dude, and I can coach him and motivate him up to 75%, but it has to draw me down to 75, right? The batteries they have to level out. He's at 50, I'm at 100, we become 75. I can only do that a few times before I can't be a 100% person anymore.
And that, well, I haven't met him, but your friend, I don't know if you want to use his name, but who just recently was killing it in sales and is doing so much better now. He was working for you, and you were the one who said, you need to go do another thing because
he needed to do something else.
Yeah. It was like he had topped off where he was at, right?
Yeah, I think he needed to change, right? He needed to come in, here and see what this is, right? Like you don't realize when I tell people all the time, I'm like, I don't hang out. Guys are like, man, because they watch me, they think they know me through social media. I do a video at 9 o'clock every night. Like you don't realize by the time you see me do the video at night, I've been up since 4:30. I've cardioed twice, if not 3 times in 30-minute blocks or hour blocks. I've already worked out. I've shot content. I've done all of my day job. And when you see me at 9 o'clock and I'm online until 10:30, depending if the conversation, I'll get on and be like, I can't have a fucking conversation by myself. You guys want to do this, you interact. I'll go as long as the topics are good. You give me something to go off and talk about and have some energy with, we'll go for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
When you see me do that, I still, if I do a video for an hour or I do a video for 2 hours, I'm still gonna work when I'm done. And if I do a video for 2 hours, it's an hour later that I get in bed. I don't just not do that work that night because I spent more time online. And people see me, the me that they typically interact with is 9 o'clock me after I've been up since 4:30 in the morning. So they feel like I want to come hang out with you or whatever. When you see 9 o'clock me, I'm half asleep already at 9 o'clock. Like that's the low energy me. Most people can't fucking keep up with me. Like I move 5 miles a day without working out, without fucking exercise bike, without treadmill. That doesn't include any. I physically walk 5 miles a day in the building and on the property, just doing things. Like I don't have a slow speed. There's not ever I slow down, and people slow me down. Like I don't have 5 minutes. I don't have an hour to stand and talk. When I stand and talk to you for an hour, when you leave, I still do all of the things that I was going to do that day, even if it means I don't get in bed till 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. Like I don't ever do less because some shit happened.
Yeah. One thing too is like you always mention it in the live stream, but the cool thing is that you get to interact with the owner of the company.
I don't know why more places don't do that.
Yeah.
I think because they're comfortable, and comfort breeds complacency, right? Everybody's on this, you need to plan things out, right? I'm gonna sit down at this time and have a 30-minute dinner with my wife, and we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna plan this out, and between 8 and 9 is this time. I don't do any of that shit. Like, I just fucking go. So I don't know why you can't go to any of your favorite companies and the CEO or the front guy or whoever's in charge of the company, I don't know why you can't talk to those people, especially in like my stuff in the sewing industry. You have all these companies like America Made, honors a way of life, right? How come when you look at their Instagram pages and they're showing you some gear and stuff, why don't you ever see a sewing machine? Or if you do, you see one sewing machine. They tell you they make it here and they make it in their shops, right? How come, like Tyler Kath, K&T Hunting, he shows you. Like you see employees, you see people. There's I think MOS Tactical, I think is one of them. There's a couple smaller shops. You see them in the shop, right?
Yeah.
You see my shop, but the big names out there, you don't see any of their fucking shops. Even the higher end, like smaller guy, you don't see their fucking shops.
Yeah.
You don't see a sewing machine. You don't see them sewing. You just see some shit, right? You don't ever fucking see a building, much less American citizens.
Mm-hmm. So last time I was here, guys, all right, a couple of things I want to hit real quick. So when we're talking about like the must be nice thing, or it must be nice to be a king, and yeah, it is. I can show you how. Like you can watch my previous video, and John has a whole bunch of videos. I'll link to my previous video and all of his stuff in the description. But we tell the story of how like John went from fucking nothing, like, and had to build back up. And if you see this compound, how amazing it is, everything you got going out around here. That's why he's my favorite business owner.
Let me pause you.
Yes, sir.
For guys that don't know what he's talking about, I went to federal prison in 2003. I went to federal prison for 22 months. I was sent, the judge gave me the minimum amount of time he could give me, 30 months. I did 22 months in Lompoc. I came home, was served with divorce papers, restraining order. When I left, I had 100,000 accounts receivable every month coming in, had 100 grand in the bank personally, new Escalade, new Yukon, luxury, I had everything, right? Came home with zero. Divorce papers, restraining order. 10 weeks later, the judge tells me I have to pay $2,500 in child support for one of my sons. $2,500. I was literally out of the halfway house. I wasn't making any kind of money. I was working 3 part-time jobs delivering pizza so that I could drive around and text. When I went to prison, there was no such thing as texting. When I came home, there was texting. I literally had delivery jobs so that I could use the phone and communicate with people while I was still living in the halfway house. You could be out of the halfway house as long as you were at work. So I spent 80 hours a week at work. Within literally the first week being home, I had no driver's license, no insurance, no identification. My wife never gave me any of my documentation back. I walked into a Round Table Pizza. I said, I want you to hire me as a driver. I just came out of federal prison yesterday, literally the next day. I go, and I know you're hearing, uh-oh, this guy was in federal prison, but what you should hear is I am still attached to the halfway house and I can't get in trouble. I will be your best employee. I'm also drug tested. Not that I've ever had a drug problem, but they drug test me, so you don't have to worry about that either. I go, you're gonna hire me today as a driver, and I'm gonna work inside and build pizzas and clean and do what you need me to do, and you're gonna give me a week to get my documentation and my insurance, and then I'm gonna drive for you. And I'm only gonna work for you for 6 months. At 6 months, I'm gonna leave. I go, but the 6 months I work for you, 2 years from now, I'm gonna be the employee that you're trying to find to ask me to come back and offer me more money. Man, I wish that John Willis guy was still here. I worked 3 jobs. Let me tell you, the first year I was home, I made almost $1 million working out of my mom's garage with 2 sewing machines. And I had a couple of other people that I hired that would come in and sew in the evenings and stuff. On probation for 3 years, I made $1 million the first year I was home from federal prison in my mom's garage. And that's with a probation officer coming to the house every couple months, and she's like, are these guys really SEALs? She's like, you're not SEALs, are you? Yes, ma'am, we're with Foxtrot, SEAL Team 7. Yes, we are SEALs. Like she didn't believe it. She's like, who are all these guys? I go, they're Navy SEALs. But that's the deal. So I say all that to say, what's your excuse for your inaction? If you're not acting or you're not at your point in life where you want to be right now, why? I had to go in and walk in and tell people, yes, I've been in federal prison. Yes, I started everything with 0. Like when I came home, I called all my vendors and I said, hey, you know I went to prison. You know that we did millions of dollars over the years in business. I go, I'm starting my business back. I need you guys to believe in me, and I need you to take some samples and some partial rolls and some scrap, put them in a box and send them to me so I can build some stuff. I rented 2 sewing machines. I didn't even own the sewing machines. So I don't understand people who don't do things.
It's one of those, like, instead of saying like, why can't I?
Yeah, it's why instead of saying I can't afford this, it literally is as simple as I can't afford this. Instead you say, how can I afford it?
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like it literally, that is all there is to it.
Yeah, that cup is half full.
Yeah,
I can fill it.
Most people speak in the negative instead of the positive, and they put themselves into the conversation because you've allowed accessibility to them. So they can come and jump in with business people because of the internet now and insert themselves into the conversation, but they don't want to really do that. They're just complacent. The average US citizen spends 6 hours out of the day doing nothing or whatever they want to do. But for everybody's like, I don't have time for another job. I don't have time to start a business. You have 6 hours between sitting on the toilet, on the phone, or sitting on the phone, or Netflix, or television. You have 6 hours out of the day that you're not at work and you're not asleep. Schwarzenegger's like, hey, you need to get up at 6 o'clock. You've got time for an extra job. You want to be a bodybuilder, be a bodybuilder. You can sleep from midnight to 6 a.m. But I need 8 hours of sleep. That's only 6 hours of sleep. And he says, to them, I say, sleep faster.
Yeah. All right, can I pause it one more
Yep.
time? Thank you. All right, we're going to continue in just a moment. So, yeah, I love that one. I know that Schwarzenegger quote, too.
Yeah.
So, another thing, something I seriously fucking appreciate is last time I was here, we had met one time prior. When I met John, it was like I came in and he wasn't here. I didn't want to bother him, to use his time or anything like that. But so I looked around, got some stuff, and was at the car, and I saw John, the owner of the company, taking out the trash, which to me, it was like a thing everywhere I worked. We're like, I'm not taking out the trash, I'm not doing that. And it's like a bottom level employee unwilling to do it. So I thought that was cool. But
They didn't hire me to do that. That's not my job description. That's what people say.
Yeah.
So not only do I clean the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I take out the trash. I pick up cigarette butts. I'm not a cigarette smoker, right?
Yeah.
I do the lowest level shit, because then anybody who's on my payroll, they don't have a fucking thing to say about anything I ask them to do. I never ask anybody to do anything I cannot demonstrate. There is nothing that happens in this building that I cannot show you how to do. And when I feel that they're not doing it at the level or the speed that it should be done, I go, hey, all of you, come here and watch this. And I will show them how to build it.
Yeah.
And I go, me telling you, hey, maybe you should do this way, me recommending something a couple times, that's me allowing you to do it on my terms without me forcing or breaking your arm to do it. But in the end, you're going to do it the way, because I've done it for 35 years. If there was a better way, we would already know. I'm more than willing to, hey, try it your way, and maybe we'll change. And occasionally that happens. But for the most part, that's the deal. Like, yes, and I also, when all the COVID stuff, we feed all of our employees. Anybody wants to eat breakfast, we feed them. Anybody wants to eat lunch, we feed them. And I spend over $2,000 a month on raw groceries to feed, and most of that goes to employees.
Yeah, we actually bumped into Amanda, his wife, the other day at Walmart.
Yeah.
Loading that.
She shops at Walmart. My guy Jeremy shops multiple other locations out of this town. Nashville, Clarksville. He cooks 3 days a week. She cooks 2 days a week, and then she does breakfast. And all the eggs, they all come from our animals here. A lot of the veg that we do all comes off the property. Like, we produce a lot of our own food here. So when all the COVID stuff started, I felt it was important enough. We didn't know what this was. I started doing the dishes rather than having an employee do the dishes who, might be sidetracked, whatever would happen. Because I saw high-level employees, people that I really trusted, like people that I would give a key, that had a key to the building or could come on the property, right? I would see them come to the Berkey water filter and literally drinking out of a bottle, and then at the same time take that bottle and put it up on the nozzle that was on their mouth, and now cross-infect the thing, right? So I'm like, I really trust these people, but they do stupid things, right? They just do hazardous things, especially, and this is during COVID. So if this is real, so I'm in there spraying bleach, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do the dishes myself. So every time, every breakfast, every lunch, dude's like, hey, I'll do the dishes. I'm like, no, you go do what I pay you to do, I'll do the dishes. Because the other thing is, I can do the dishes, all of them, in 10 minutes. That's literally rub them all with a scrubber and Dawn dish soap, and then put them in the sterilizer. I can do the entire dishes in 10 minutes. So how come when I pay an employee to do it, it takes literally 45 minutes? Because he's fucking around doing other things. Because how you view what you do affects how you do what you do. If you don't view everything you do as important, you're not going to do it as though it's important if you don't think it's important, right? Fursella talks about, if you're going to be the fry guy, be the best motherfucking fry guy there can be ever. Be the best fry guy in the history of McDonald's, right? Because you're not going to be the fry guy very long. Do everything you do as though, and if I could go back to 20-year-old or 30-year-old me, I'm 50 right now, just turned 50 in December. If I could go back 20 years and talk to me, I would say do everything in life as though it's important, and if it's not important to you, fucking stop doing it. You don't do it right now. Learn to say no also. No, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Guys come, hey, I'm selling. No, I'm not interested. Thanks, man. No, thank you.
Now, one thing I was trying to get to is like, I'd actually showed him the second time we met.
You had a 550 cord sling.
Well, no, it wasn't 550. It was tubular.
But you were sewing it by hand.
Sewing it by hand.
And I said, stop that shit.
Yep. And you're like, and I showed him some Chicom chest rigs that I had modified, and you're like, you should make those out of Cordura. So what I do when I got home, I bought a fucking sewing machine.
Yeah.
Started making. And he could have very easily told me, like, hey, you're in competition with me, whatever, but didn't do that. And sitting here shooting a video with me today, that's something I seriously appreciate.
When I don't know how old I was. I went to the Soldier of Fortune show, which was a big deal. It was like a mini SHOT show, right? It was in Las Vegas. It was the biggest show we'd ever, and we did like Trexpo Tactical Response Expo, Trexpo Tactical Response, yeah. So it's like SWAT teams and FBI SWAT and federal, like it was a big deal, right? They'd come in boats and machine guns and helicopters and do all these demos and shit. We'd set up as a vendor. So pretty decent shows. They were in like Long Beach. And then we would go to the Soldier of Fortune show in Las Vegas, and it's like red carpet, you're like, it's like angels, right? You walk in and all the huge companies, like HK's there, and Eagle Industries was there. And I walked in and I this dude came up, and he was probably 50 at the time, right? It was John Carver who founded Eagle Industries. And he just started talking. He said, hey, I own this company. I go, hey, I have a sewing machine. I'm learning how to do this stuff, and I'm one day going to be your competition. And he puts his arm around me and goes, let me tell you some things. And he just fucking sat down and talked to me for 2 hours at Soldier Fortune Show. And he told me a few things. He said, I have over 1,000 employees. He said, there are times when I can't pay payroll because we haven't been paid on a government contract. That's changed the way they do their payment system now. But he goes, I had a lot more fun when I had 10 employees. And he said, personally, I had more money when I have 100 employees instead of 1,000 employees. And he wasn't trying to dissuade me. I'm like, hey, where do I get this thing from? He goes, hey, I like you, kid, but I'm not going to help you compete against me. You can figure out where this comes, especially today. Like when I had that conversation, cell phones didn't exist. Like we didn't have the internet. Like we used to joke, like, motherfucker, we've been around before the internet. And then one day somebody pointed out, they go, we really have been around before the internet, right? I didn't believe that when I said it, but we used to have to, like you used to have to go to a library, and there was a thing called Thomas Registry. And they're like giant encyclopedias, but they're the size of big city phone books. And you would look up in like C, you'd pull out the C, letter C, and you'd look for coil, right? So I'm looking for cable, coil, wire cable, so it might be in C, it might be in W, and you look this up and it's got a list of anything that is made with anything. The things are all in these books. And you had to go to a major library that had one, downtown San Diego, to find these set of books, pull it off the shelf, and each one weighed 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And so I'd write down all the phone numbers, because I couldn't afford to photocopy. I literally couldn't afford to even run the photocopier. So I'd write down all the phone numbers and start calling people. And what we were building was weapons retention lanyards for pistols off the sub holsters, tack holsters. And we were originally buying up all of the 20-foot coil phone cables at Walmart and Radio Shack because that was the biggest you can get, and I needed 6 feet so I could make 3 of them out of there. And we fold them over, and we were actually sewing through this and then sewing webbing, but they would eventually always fail. So we needed a real silicone coil cable with a stainless steel wire through the middle of it. So after spending literally hours calling people, you need to talk to Bob. We finally get a company. I'm like, okay, cool, can I talk to Bob? Bob's not here. When will Bob be here? We don't know. Bob's at lunch. So 3 more days of calling, I get Bob. Bob's like, I have exactly what you need. We'll send you some samples. I'm like, cool. He's like, you'll have them in 6 weeks. I'm like, is there any way we can get them faster? So this is what we needed. We bought 1,000 of these things the first time, and it literally it was about a 6-month process to even be able to go into production with this. Nowadays, you could literally just go, you could type it in, I need a silicone or rubber coil with a stainless steel wire through the middle, and it would just shit out the answer. And you could order it. Like Grainger has everything in the world now. If you have a factory or you build something out of something, chances are they have these giant catalogs. There's companies like that now. We did all this shit before. Like you had to in life, right? There are things like in all this homesteading and food production and animals, raising animals for meat. There are things you don't know, and you don't know to ask them. You don't know you need to know them. Mm-hmm. And the dudes that know, they don't know that you need to know either. So you don't know until it's too late that you need that, and that's when you start seeking it out. So.
Can I pause that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did it.
Okay. All right, 5, 4. All right. Now, one of the last things that I really wanted to talk about too was the direction the world's going now, because you and I both kind of see it, right? You pay a lot more attention, do a lot more research, and may be in the know more. But as far as like COVID, I mean, both of us from the beginning were like, this is insane. This is about control, not about helping anyone. We were just discussing it the other night. So what do you see that's happening right now? We've just gone through COVID. The Ukraine and Russia that whole thing is going down.
It's all diversion.
What do you think the diversion is for?
So it's all diversion, and you have the fewest people with the most amount of money now have way more wealth, and it is about removing the middle class. It's literally can be broken down as simple as the Hunger Games. You're going to have zones. They want to depopulate the center of the United States and the populations and push them to the coast, and that's going to be their playground, and they're going to do what they want to do. They literally want to depopulate the world by 90%. And you're like, that is crazy. That's some make-believe bullshit. But you can see the words come out of Bill Gates' mouth. You can see the words come out of Carl Schleus's mouth. You can find all these people. Agenda 21, we used to make fun of all those guys. You tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theory, the term conspiracy theory, the CIA coined that term. That's their phrase. Conspire, in the rawest form, just means to breathe together. That's what conspire means. Conspiracy theory is something the CIA came up with so that when their shit started getting put out public, they had some way to term a bad phrase to name the people saying their secrets, basically. And if you look that up, you will find all of that. Anything, and don't take anything I say to be true. Question every single thing, because if you question and try to prove me wrong, occasionally you will catch me wrong or mistaken. I reserve the right to be wrong, but more often that means you're looking for yourself and it's pulling the thread. We did a podcast, I had 126 episodes of a podcast called Pulling the Thread. We did them every day, 5 days a week. We stopped at episode 126, and it was all about conspiracy theories and current events. It is all manipulation. Klaus Schwab, look him up. Look up who Klaus Schwab's. Look up a video on YouTube called "Is Klaus Schwab the Devil?" His second guy, direct Nazi descendant. This is literally the 1,000-year Reich. And you have all of these people. What you don't realize is, whether you're Republican or Democrat, the people in charge, Republican and Democrat, they pretend to hate each other. It's really the World Wrestling Federation. They all party together. They all fucking have sex with young children. All the criminal shit. And they pass all these laws and these crazy shit that you and I have to abide by. None of them follow any of those rules. They kill people in car accidents. They drown people when cars go off of bridges. They literally get caught raping children, and nothing happens to them. There is no repercussion. So it's all about diversion, right? Black guys aren't supposed to like white guys, and Jewish people aren't supposed to like fucking Christian people, or whatever. It's literally white collar. Man, it must be nice to work in that air conditioned office, right? It's all division. And it literally, those ideas are planted and propagated now through social media, not the news anymore. But it literally is to divide us, and then divide us more and divide us more. Look at all the gun laws over the last 10 years, right? And now you've got the gun culture and the gun community.
Yeah.
And now you got gun dudes hating each other.
Yeah.
But you all like guns and you all want to go shoot. It literally is just to further divide you and to take away your power. Because when you're not, they don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. They're really scared when you're not either one of those. The football team owners, the sports team owners, they don't give a shit which team you're voting for, because you're still paying admission to the stadiums that they own and the franchise, and you're still buying the jersey, and the same company makes the jersey for both teams. They are vested in that. They make money. The guys, when they bet on sports teams, they bet on both teams. They always win. It's just, that's how life is. Stop participating and do something today to make yourself more self-sufficient. They hate that. You have the smallest groups that they make out to be the most craziest, and then they literally send in an army to execute and kill and burn these people to make an example, so the next guy is more fearful of it. Ruby Ridge, Waco, Janet Reno's like, we're gonna wait them out, we're gonna put a fence. 6 days later, they burnt them all to death. Right? I know Paul Fata. Paul was he was a Branch Davidian. He was at fucking Waco. I know Paul's entire story. I was in federal prison with him. It is crazy. We no longer mind because they no longer matter. Make your life so that they don't matter. Stop participating in their systems. You have tax structure Texas, for instance, the tax structure in Texas, 65% of the taxes paid in Texas are paid for things that no longer exist today, like horse and buggy tax, cobblestone tax. They never remove a tax when it becomes obsolete. They only add more tax on top of it. You have 1,000 laws for the exact same thing. In the rawest form, whether you've ever read the Bible, whether you go to church, whether you even believe in God, if we had 10 commandments for every man to abide by and be held to those standards, we wouldn't need all these systems, right? It's all, you have 50% of the people in the United States, let's say you have 50%, I believe the number is actually less than 50. 50% of the people in the United States work with their hands, build something, provide a service, whatever it is, that people seek out and are willing to have commerce with, right? I build a product, people want it, they are willing to pay me for it. That's us. The other side is bureaucrats, bureaucracy, right? The only way they show up to work and get a paycheck, but their money only comes from stealing from the people that work and create things. The money comes from taxes, right? You typically, when you have to do business with bureaucracy and bureaucrats, it's law that you do business with them, right? You don't choose to, like the Department of Motor Vehicles, for instance. You have to go there and pay money to take a test to be licensed to drive. You have to pay registration. You have to have your smog stuff checked and pay more money. You have to give your money to these people. And if let's say society collapsed, let's say the power ceased going today, would those jobs still exist? And would anybody miss them? And the answer is probably not. So which side of that are you on? If you've gone to formal education and you've gone through liberal arts, because they lied to all these people. They told everybody you have to go to college. Mike Rose speaks on this a lot. Like, trades, not school. Of course I want my doctor, like Spirko says, Jack Spirko. He's like, of course, if I have a stop sign through my spleen, I hope that my doctor has been through fucking medical college, right? But I don't need the guy coming in and wiring my house to have been through 8 years of college. I don't need that. I hope he's been through trade school and a journeyman program and learned how to do that stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of that. Even like people always say go to a trade school. I went to HVAC and I went to electrical, and like HVAC school, we're learning a lot of like circuit stuff that my instructor is telling me this is in the curriculum, but it will never apply to you. And then when we go to when I was in electric school to be an electrician, we're learning a lot of stuff about how much power is going into the building and how to add that up and how much we need. And he's like, this is a higher level than you. You do not need to know this stuff.
When did you go through those schools?
A couple years ago.
Was that because you're getting out of the Marine Corps and they're like, here's a list of schools we can send you to?
It was one of those things where it was like family and everyone's telling me you should go to a trade school. I mentioned in the last video was
so did you use your GI Bill for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was after a year or two you'll be making $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Which fucking isn't that great,
So I got a buddy, HVAC guy, went to school, got his mechanical engineering license. CEO of Samsung has offered to hire him. Like, I've been standing there when he's had the conversations. Like, they call him, they're like, hey, can you please come to Nashville and work on this thing that this other company put in on this $1 million project, and they use our equipment, but they can't get it to work. Name your price. So, like, if you're the best at what you do, somebody will pay you a crazy amount of money to do what you do. We tend to look at people as though, stop having low-end customers, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you were a sole businessman, you founded the company, you create a product, right? Sell your product to people with more money and they're willing to give you more money. Stop doing business with poor people, unless that's your thing, right? Unless you hate money. Like, I only have so much capacity, right? I can sell tool bags to motherfuckers that grumble about a $100 tool bag. I can sell them 50. Well, why would I buy this when I can buy a tool bag at Home Depot for $30? I don't even have the conversation. I'm like, you should totally go buy the tool bag for $30. But they fall apart. Yeah, I know they fall apart, but you just told me you can get it. That's what you get for $30. Go buy you 5 of them. The reality is 90% of the people that buy shit are never going to use it, so they're never going to know it falls apart. I sell tool bags for $125. I auction a tool bag off when I personally make it It sells for $1,000 every time I do anything leather, hybrid with leather and Cordura. $1,000 every single time I sew a bag for 3 or 4 hours on the weekend. I auction it anywhere, and I should say, I say $1,000. $1,000 is the minimum. I make round duffel bags and they sell for $2,600 on auction. That's the highest I've gotten, and I get $2,000 and $1,800 all the time. Why should I be dealing with poor people? Like, I only have 20 people that work here on a best day. I can only make so much shit. Do I want to sell $200 bags or do I want to sell $30 bags? So stop dealing with fucking poor people. 80% of your customers will take up 10% of your customers will take 80% of your time. Fire those customers.
Yep.
Do it blatantly, do it loudly, do it publicly. Because what happens is, because of social media, they feel wronged and they're going to go talk about you. And people don't realize that through social media, you can click that dude's name and typically, in some manner, see everything he said. This isn't the first time this has happened. This is a pain in the ass customer. When you fire this guy, it spurs him to go out and spend his entire free time talking about you. I like to call this guy Bob. We see Bob on the forums. Everybody has a Bob. He's the dude when you're at work and you're in the break room and you're like, hey, we're gonna go across the street and have some wings and some beers and watch soccer tonight. And you all roll in there and here comes Bob and you all look at each other and you're like, who the fuck invited Bob? That's Bob, right? He's gonna come in, he's gonna smack the waitress on the ass, he's gonna burp and fart loudly, and he's probably not only gonna get spit in his food, but you're gonna get spit in your food because Bob's at your table with you, right? That's Bob. And Bob goes out on the internet all the time complaining and pissing and moaning about shit because he gets rewarded. We coddle that behavior now, we reward it. You see it at Applebee's or Ruby Tuesdays. I don't go to any of those fucking places. Stop going to shitty places. But you see the behavior. The kids are running around crazy. The dude eats half his steak, complains to the waitress, demands to see the manager, and what's the manager do? First rule is to diffuse the situation, quiet it down so the other patrons aren't looking. Sorry, let me get you a new steak even though you've eaten half of this. Let me pay for your meal. Here's a free dessert, and here's a 20% coupon, so please come back and do this all over again because we rewarded you. When you fire shitty customers, they still want your stuff. They're going to buy it on the secondary market. My stuff sells for more than I sell it for on the secondary market. Or they're going to go to your competitor. They're going to do the same thing at your competitor, but your competitor's dumb, and he's going to try to take care of this asshole, and it's going to bog him down. And while he's fucking spending 80% of his time on 10% of his customers, you can take his other easy customers.
It's true too about like lots of guys buy stuff they don't even really need. Like I have some SOE here.
Yeah.
I was like, I just fucking want to have that.
So here's a perfect example, right? Mm-hmm. Blackhawk, honors a way of life. We used to walk into trade shows and just like, not even being an asshole, we saw guys rip Blackhawk gear sitting on the wall, right? Ugh. Like you could literally on their subloads, because they just sew a piece of material, like they do a pistol mag pouch, and you can rip it off because it's not fucking sewn well. Blackhawk had a lifetime warranty. You'd send your shit in. 90% of the people that bought Blackhawk gear bought it because Jim Bonus was the ad marketing campaign guy. That's why Otis and Blackhawk and Surefire, all their shit all look the same. They hired a Coca-Cola ad guy, and that's why all their ads look the same. They scaled up, got a bunch of orders and a bunch of work, and then couldn't build it and offshored it, and the offshore stuff was a problem. So, but they rely on dudes that use the gear for real, right? Navy guys, let's say soft guys that ride on little birds, they fly up. That gear doesn't come home with them typically. That's a one-time use thing. They get handed a brand new fucking kit, they assemble all their kit for their next fucking spin up, their next deployment, their next mission, whatever. That's not Blackhawk anymore. Like that's not them. And most people buying that shit, it goes in a car trunk and they never use it, right? So that's the deal. Our NSW rig, everybody wants a fucking $650 NSW chest rig. They're badass. But really, the reality of it is, if I have, I don't know how many are out there. Let's say I have 1,000 out there. There's 100 dudes that have put that thing on for real and done real training or real combat with it. Probably more because we did them for the Navy. But the majority of people that have that, it sits in their trunk or in the back of their closet. It's awesome, but they never get to use it. That's why I sell wallets and I sell $25 and $50 items, because when a dude pulls out a fucking $50 wallet, I used to say $25. They're $50 now. When a guy pulls out a $50 wallet, he sees that tag, made in the motherfucking USA, and he will show it to a stranger at the cash register, and the stranger will giggle about it. When he gets in his car, he sees the visor cover that we sold him every single day. He gets real use every single day from it.
Right on. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? Or?
Fuck, man, I don't know. I have these conversations all the time. No, I'm good.
All right, right on. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome.
I fucking love being here. I love coming up, seeing what you guys have built. I think you got more giraffes. It looks like.
I actually own 7. I have one that's in Atlanta, and I have one that I've lost.
Can I show that?
Yeah. I don't know where I put it.
This is like a Paid For by Haters Part 2. If you haven't seen that, you should watch that. Let me get this damn thing. There we go. Yeah. So. Those are real?
Yeah, they
fucking cool.
Yeah, they're your real dead giraffes. I like a picture from our SelfReliance Expo. So for guys that don't know, we just had our second SelfReliance Expo. We had 250 people here. We're expecting 650 June 11th and 12th. And it's just come out here. The theme is underground networking, underground economy. How to do business, and like, don't ask permission. Like, I don't have my business license yet. Maybe you should probably start doing what you want to be a carpenter. You should probably build some cool shit. See if people want to buy it, right? Before you go get a business license and buy all these tools, you might want to make sure you like doing what you're doing. So that's the theme, and it's how to be more self-sufficient and self-reliant and not rely on the systems. So I believe anybody that you watch on social media, be careful who you watch, because how many times have you seen these guys, especially like fitness dudes, right? You see these fitness guys and you see these cool pictures and shit, and when you meet them in person, you're like, you don't look anything like that. Or you see these chicks, and when you run into them in person, you're like, holy shit, that bitch is wearing a mask. Like, that's not even a real face. Like, literally, there's so much makeup, right? So I believe there should be evidence of success. If people ask me how to do something, especially if it's something that their life could depend on in the future, food production or self-defense or fitness, whatever, right? That all goes together. If you ask me and I'm in a position to give you advice, I should have evidence of having done it all myself. That's why we have these self-reliance festivals. People come here, you can see the aquaponics system, you can see the water collection pond, you can see all the fucking gardens, you can see the 200 chickens, you can see the freezers full of meat. Like, we made all of that. And that's what I think should happen. Another thing while we're on it is, motherfuckers, fitness is free. Everybody has an excuse. There are a lot of preppers and a lot of dudes that are, we call you guys collectors. You're pretend preppers, right? You like to go buy some shit, and I get it. I love to shop. I love to buy things. I used to go as a destination to the Radio Shack or to the Best Buy to get a charger or something. It releases endorphins, just like having sex. Just like when you come, when you spend money, you feel good, and it makes you feel more secure, and it gives you a release, right? So all these people prepping for the end of the world, and you see all these threads about, I have $20 to spend, what should I buy? Motherfucker, if $20 is what you could spend, you fucking should figure out how to make your $20 into 40 and then into 80. Dudes a lot of times are like, hey, I can't afford to buy anything. I'm like, don't buy anything. Guys come in here for class all the time, like, what should I buy? I'm like, you shouldn't buy anything. Take some more classes, find out what you need. I would rather you scale a business or a hobby into a business in 2 years, and then come to me in 2 years, hey, I make this cool thing. Awesome, why don't we put my name on your cool thing, and I'll buy 144 of them. That's what a gross is. I'll buy 100. What's the most you've ever made? Oh, 60? I'll buy 120. I don't know if I can. Well, you better fucking figure it out. You're a businessman. If you're ever gonna get to the next level, here's your chance. That's what I want to happen. But the fitness thing, how many preppers and how many guys in the tactical community, right? Motherfucker, fitness is free. You don't need a gym. You don't need all of this shit. You don't need a bunch of chemicals. You don't need a bunch of supplements. They have this thing, maybe you've heard of it. It's called motherfucking outside. Go outside and use it. Like, stop being fat, become harder to kill. And what if every hour of movement you put in now adds a day to your life at the end of your life? And maybe it doesn't. But what if every hour of movement you put in now makes you, when you're 80, feel like you're 70 instead of 80. Because I know a lot of dudes running around that are 80 years old, 85 years old, and you would swear they're not a day over fucking 60.
Yeah, I just met Dana, and
My
then,
lawyer, Dana?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And there's been several other guys who've been up here during class that I'm like, holy fuck, like these guys are sharp. Like you just turned 50. You're fucking doing good, you know?
He reads a lot of big books.
Yeah, yeah. He blew my mind pretty hard. I was like, at first I was like, he walked up, he was like, hey. You know, like, hey, how's it going? Are you Dana? I was like, yeah. You know, like just very short one-word answers to me. Then he opened up. I was like, holy fuck, this guy's blowing my mind. I only knew him from a few of your videos and James's videos.
That's mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, John. Yeah, I gotta try to make a video of James too before he has to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time, and everyone watching. And I'm gonna post the last video we did, and I'm gonna post links for all of John's stuff. Buy some SOE gear, get some badass shirts.
Or don't buy. Like my stuff is very hard to get. Like I am moving to a business model in the very near future where I won't even have a front-facing website. Like when you look my company up, you won't find anything to buy. We're going to a more exclusive structure. To be a customer, you will have to be referred by a customer. Like I don't want to build. I only need 1,000 true fans, and I have 700,000 on Facebook right now. I'm only going to do business with 1,000 people. Like and I'm going to make a lot more money doing it, and I'm going to have a lot less grief, and I'm going to have a lot more time to do other things. We'll be accessible, but I'm not ever trying to get new clients ever.
Right on. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Keep fighting communism, and remember that training saves lives.
Right on.